packets. This is a network's medium of bringing the happenings in the economic sector of the society to our discerning viewers. This program is aimed at bringing to the doorstep of viewers the business, financial and economic activities from all strata of society. Its delivery is accentuated through the various stock exchanges across the world, news about government, economic activities, private sector business activities, lists with experts' opinions, stakeholders' analysis, and correspondence reports. Headlines. Federal government declares emergency in airports. Tax collection in Nigeria too low, Bill Gates. PFA's diversify assets as equity stake jumps 40%. Z pledges $50 billion in financial aid to Africa. By the end of the show, you can be rest assured of being informed accurately of financial activities around the world. I am your host, Wendy Aguma. We'll take a short break and when we return, we'll reel out the details. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Now let's go into market reports, local and international business news. Who disclosed this during a press conference to unveil the seizure of illicit goods by Nigerian Customs Service, a threat to national security, adding that the health of citizens at the Onne port is increasingly being used as a destination for dangerous and illicit cargo, describing it as a disturbing trend. He commended officers and men of the Onne Command for their dedication to duty and service to humanity, adding that he was strengthening intelligence networks and enhance interagency collaborations. He assured Nigerians that the Nigerian Customs Service would continue to be a formidable force in the fight against smuggling and the illegal importation of harmful goods. Area 2 Command Onne, River State of Nigeria Customs Service has intercepted 12 containers laden with military and paramilitary equipment and illicit drugs worth 31 billion naira. The Controller General of Customs, Bashir Adeniyi, who disclosed this at Onne, River State, seized items include 4,800 pairs of military, paramilitary camouflage, rain boots, various rubber footwear, chili cutters, and cough syrup with codeine. Atn condemned the continued violation of import guidelines by some individuals who were engaging the route for illicit businesses and declared a 3-month emergency protocol at an airport to check the trend, adding that henceforth the customs will be conducting thorough examinations of all suspended containers. The Controller General, however, assured the business community of legitimate importers, also urged the public to contribute their quota to security through information sharing. Vice President Kashim Shettima has inaugurated a comprehensive 150 local government area of Rivers State. The investment underscores APM Terminal's commitment to Nigeria's economic growth and strengthens its position as a key trade hub in West Africa and reaffirms its role as a key player in lifting global trade and creating opportunities for communities across Nigeria and West Africa. The inauguration ceremony was attended by several dignitaries, including the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, represented by his Senior Advisor, Technical, while Professor Babatunde Bernard, the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Adeboyega Oyetola, represented by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Olufemi Oloruntola, as well as others. In his address at the event, Shettima, who represented by the personal assistant to the President on subnational infrastructure, Masadik Mustafa, commended the APM terminals for its huge investment in West Africa Container Terminal and assured the company that the federal government would continue to provide the enabling environment for businesses to thrive. The Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, who also commended APM terminals for the huge investment in West Africa Container Terminal, promised that the ministry would continue to support terminal operators to modernize the port and reduce the cost of doing business at the nation's gateway. Nigeria Customs Services commenced the implementation of the authorized Economic Operators Benefit Program for the first set of approved importers, exporters, small and medium enterprises, customs license brokers, and logistics operators. It stated that as part of the program, consignments belonging to the selected operators will receive preferential treatment, including automatic pre-arrival assessment report registration, direct green landing routes, direct green lane routing, dedicated relationship manager, and AEO branding. The National Public Relations Officer of the service, Abdullahi Maiwada, stated that upon the completion of the pilot phase and verification of ongoing compliance with all established provisions, participants would be awarded certificates to formally recognize their status as authorized economic operators. The service stated that the initiative which took effect on September 2nd, 2024, introduces new standards in line with global best practices, aiming to enhance trade facilitation, ameliorate existing difficulties within the supply chain, and strengthen Nigerians' position in the global trading community. This was contained in a statement on Wednesday issued by the service. Maiwada said these benefits would be administered continuously, contingent on the compliance of all selected participants with the program's provisions. He said the inaugural participants were carefully chosen based on the outstanding compliance within the supply chain, following an exhaustive 3-month AEO validation process designed to uphold the highest selection standards. According to him, key partners such as the World Bank's accelerated revenue mobilization reforms and various customs administration across the globe, with emphasis on His Majesty's Revenue and Customs, South Africa Revenue Service, and Uganda Revenue Authority, where benchmarking exercises were conducted, have significantly contributed to the success of this AEO initiative. He said the pilot phase would be operational across all ports, while valuable learnings would be gathered to enhance service delivery. The Controller General of Customs, Adewale Adeniyi, emphasized the need for robust support from all stakeholders, including other government agencies and development partners, to promote the success of the pilot test. The CGC added that the service remains unwavering in its commitment to promoting transparency, efficiency, and ease of doing business. In a bid to stop in-season national grid collapse, the federal government has concluded plans to construct what is called a super grid. The media aide to the Minister of Power, Bolaji Tunji, who disclosed this in a statement, said the Power Minister Adelebu spoke in China, where he attended the China-African Cooperation Summit after he condemned the national grid, saying its present state cannot support the vision for the power sector. He said the 765 kV is large enough to take power from high-capacity plants like the Mambila power plants, and the country is yet to have a transmission network that would wheel power from Mambila when completed. The chairman of Geometric Power commended the incumbent Power Minister Adelebu for reviving the super grid project. Gas production in Nigeria is growing from 7.5 billion cubic feet per day and is inching to 12 BCF per day. The federal government has said. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Gas, Epo, disclosed these to journalists at a recent event in Lagos. Epo said his major focus during his second year in office will be to ramp up gas production and turn Nigeria into a gas economy in line with the Decade of Gas initiative. Since the federal government adopted gas as a country's transition fuel, there have been concerns about low sustainable gas production in Nigeria. However, the gas minister expressed optimism that more gas will be produced, especially as some international oil companies divested to deep water. Nigerians' reserve of associated gas and non-associated gas stand at 209.26 trillion cubic feet, according to the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission. Meanwhile, Nigerians are complaining about the rising cost of working gas, which now sells at around 1,300 naira per kilogram from less than 1,000 naira in June. Global System for Mobile Communications Association has urged the federal government to reduce telecom taxes to encourage investment and boost the country's digital economy. The head of Sub-Sahara Africa at GSMA, Angela Wamola, said Nigeria's complex and burdensome tax regime is hindering the telecom sector's ability to invest in infrastructure, expand services, and contribute to the country's economic development. The GSMA official said in a note shared with ATN on Wednesday that the rising operational costs driven by increasing energy prices have placed considerable strain on telecom operators. Wamola explained that the situation was further exacerbated by the difficulty in accessing foreign currency, which is essential for importing the equipment needed to expand and maintain network infrastructure. Nigeria's telecommunications sector has experienced a slowdown in growth and contribution to the country's GDP in recent years. This decline is attributed to significant financial losses and deteriorating performance among telecom operators. In 2023, telecommunications companies in Nigeria paid a total of approximately 2.4 trillion naira in taxes, a digital economy report from the Group Special Mobile Association obtained by Newsmen showed. This figure represents a significant contribution to the Nigerian economy, as the telecom sector generated around 33 trillion naira, accounting for 13.5% of the country's gross domestic product. During the year, although the sector has enormous potential, according to Wamola, it is also repressed by the high cost of the right-of-way charges, which vary drastically from state to state. ROW charges are fees paid by telecom operators to landowners or authorities for the use of their land or property for infrastructure development. The GSMA official lamented that despite a 2020 agreement among state governors to set the ROW charge at 145 naira per meter, many states have failed to comply with this rate. According to her, this non-adherence has resulted in escalated costs for infrastructure development, with ROW charges now ranging from 1% to 70% of the additional cost of fiber optic installations, adding depending on the state. The GSMA boss noted that this inconsistency not only hinders the deployment of vital infrastructure like fiber optics, but also threatens the sector's ability to finance necessary expansions. However, if the agreed upon rate of 145 naira per meter were uniformly agreed, the GSMA official said that the cost of deploying fiber across the country would decrease by 15%, making it more feasible for operators to invest in expanding their networks. Wamola recommended that the government streamline taxes, harmonize rights-of-way charges, and reduce multiple levies to encourage investment and enhance digital inclusion. She argued that reforming telecom taxes would not only benefit the sector, but also enhance economic growth, improve connectivity, and increase access to digital services for millions of Nigeria. Transportation fares have increased by at least 50% in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, amid the recent hike in the price of premium motor spirit. This comes as the fuel price was increased to 894.97 naira and 980 naira in Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited retail outlets and independent marketers filling stations in Abuja from 617 naira to over 1,000 naira. The development has pushed up the cost of transportation in the nation's capital, while Ismail Adanjuma, the secretary of the Zuba branch of the National Union of Road Transport Workers, blamed the transport fare hike on fuel price increase. This comes as the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria said that the recent pump price hike will further worsen Nigeria's inflation, which stood at 33.40% in July. Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited has stopped the sale of premium motor spirit or petrol to the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria amid the product price increase. The development comes as the pump price of fuel hits in major filling stations in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, Lagos, Delta, and Enugu states upon NNPCL's upward price review. Meanwhile, independent marketers sold at 1,200 and 1,300 naira per litre in some states, following the upward review of prices by the NNPCL, and despite petrol pump price hike, the majority of filling stations are dispensing fuel in cities across the country. Consequently, the National Vice President of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, Hamad Fashola, in a statement had barred its members from getting petrol at depot. National President of IPMAN, Abubakar Maigandi, he was yet to speak on the matter of the time of filing this report, while spokesperson of the NNPCL, Olufemi Sonaye, has not reacted to the development. Network Against Corruption and Trafficking has condemned the sudden hike in the price of premium motor spirit, popularly called petrol, which has skyrocketed from 617 naira per litre to 897 naira per litre, as approved by the retail division of the Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited. A statement signed by its operational manager, Stanley Ugabe, in Abuja, said the increase is a direct betrayal of public trust and unequivocally rejects the hike in fuel prices and demands an immediate reversal. It described the development as an egregious affront to the collective well-being of the Nigerian people, who have already been subjected to untold hardship by a series of failed policies, adding that the government's cavalier attitude towards the suffering of the masses is deeply troubling and unacceptable, and demanded an immediate reversal. The group also expressed shock at the revelation of the Nigerian Labour Congress about the fuel price increase and minimum wage, noting that we are appalled by revelations from the NLC that the hike in fuel price directly contradicts the understanding reached with the government regarding the 70,000 naira minimum wage. The anti-corruption and trafficking body also said corruption thrives where poverty prevails. Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited says 118 incidents of oil theft were recorded in the past week, and the incidents were recorded from August 24th to 30th. According to NNPC, several illegal connections were uncovered during the week in Bayelsa, Abia, and Rivers State, while illegal refineries were also destroyed in Abia and Rivers State. NNPC also said illegal storage sites resembling pond-like reservoirs were discovered in Abia, while crude oil spills occurred in Abia, Rivers, and Bayelsa as a result of illegal connections, adding that vandalism incidents were noted and a boat carrying metals from vandalized oil wellheads was accosted in Rivers State, while on land, trucks and vehicles carrying stolen crude oil were seized at various locations in Delta State. While lamenting the spate of oil theft in Niger Delta region, the Group Chief Executive Officer of NNPC, Mele Kyari, contended that going by the volume of oil stolen daily and the arrogance with which the perpetrators operate, crude oil theft was the most humongous and virulent economic crime in Nigeria that must attract the attention of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. This is coming after the EFCC chairman Ola Olukoyede had said during a meeting in March that such oil theft does not happen anywhere else in the world. Bill Gates, co-chair of Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, has spoken on tax collection and other issues in Nigeria. Gates stated this at a Pan-African Youth Dialogue on Nutrition in Abuja on Tuesday. Speaking at the event, Gates said the low tax collection poses a challenge to adequately financing critical sectors such as health and education. He said for citizens to gain confidence in the government's ability to deliver quality health care, there must be a commitment to ensure that the funding of health programs is well managed. Gates' remark comes after Taiwo Oyodele, Chairman, Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee, said his committee is proposing a law to National Assembly to increase value-added tax from the current 7.5% to 10%. We are open for advertisements, bookings, and commercials. And you can connect with us and watch us on our social medias. At Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1, X formerly Twitter, Atlantic TV Net. Watch us live on our website, atlanticnetwork.tv. Pension fund administrators in Nigeria increased their investment in equities by 40% in 1 year to manage risk and boost returns. The fund managers grew equities investment from 1.54 trillion naira in July 2023 to 2.16 trillion naira in July 2024, indicating a 40.2% increase. A 40.25% increase over the period, according to data compiled by the Pension Fund Operators Association of Nigeria, PENOP. Oguche Aguda, Chief Executive Officer of PENOP, said the growth of equities investment by 40% over the past year highlights a strong performance in the stock market and the potential for higher returns. According to him, private equity investment also experienced significant equity assets growth of 70% from 1.6 billion naira in July 2023 to 104.7 billion naira in July 2024. He noted that this surge in private equities underscores a keen interest in high growth opportunities within private markets where pension funds seek to maximize returns over the long term. The NGS grew by 33.81% in the first quarter of 2024, just as the All Shares Index surpasses expectations, moving from the 74,773 points it started at the beginning of the year to 100,015.49 points. Bank of Industry has pledged support for local companies that have continued to invest in the country despite the global economic downturn. The Development Finance Institution said despite the exit of some companies, others had remained dogged and resilient in expanding their frontiers in the country. A statement said the managing director of BOI, Dr. Olasupo Olushi, said who disclosed this during a facility tour of some companies in Lagos, tasked Nigerian enterprises to take advantage of the regional and global markets. He commended businesses that had continued to show resilience and impacted the Nigerian economy positively, which focuses on 6 thematic areas: on SMEs, youth and skills, digital economy, climate, infrastructure, and gender that are critical for Nigeria's industrial development, and also reaffirmed the bank's commitment to supporting local manufacturing of automobiles when he visited GAC Motors assembly plant in the Aba area of Lagos. The Executive Director of Commercial GAC Motors, Jibril Arogunde, speaking on behalf of the Chief Executive Officer, Diana Chen, said Nigeria's automobile sector contributed only 0.4% of the Nigerian's gross domestic product, adding that with the support of BOI, the company's vision to increase the contribution to about 10% was achievable. Latest Purchasing Managers Index released by the Central Bank of Nigeria has indicated that economic activities expanded in August for the first time in 30 months. The PMI published by the CBN on Wednesday showed that the composite PMI for August 2024 stood at 50.2 index points, indicating an expansion in economic activity activities after 13 consecutive months of contraction. The CBN said the August PMI survey was conducted from August 12th to 16th, adding that the survey respondents were the company's purchasing and supply executives drawn from the three sectors of economy, namely industry, services, and agriculture. The PMI is computed based on responses regarding direction of change in different aspects of respondents' business activities. An index about 50 points indicates an expansion in business activities, while below 50 points indicates a contraction in business activities. A closer look at the composite employment index showed that at 48.7 index points in August, the contraction in employment level continued for the 8 consecutive months. In August, the CBN announced the reintroduction of key economic reports, including the Purchasing Managers Index, Business Expectation Survey, and Inflation Expectation Report. In a statement signed by the Acting Director of Corporate Communications, Hakama Ali, the Apex Bank explained that the reports were crucial for offering stakeholders timely and accurate insights into Nigeria's economic performance and for gaining a better understanding of the country's economic climate. The statement came in response to feedback from the organized private sector and other stakeholders who expressed concern over Commission's recent directions and the removal of fuel subsidies have significantly impacted pricing. These do not justify unfair practices that exploit consumers. The FCCPC highlighted a recent example in the cement industry to illustrate the need for its intervention. The FCCPC reassured the business community that its actions are not intended to suppress private enterprises, but to protect consumers from harmful practices. To allow businesses time to adjust their practices, the FCCPC has granted a 1-month moratorium before enforcement begins, as the FCCPC continues to oversight in the retail principles of fair competition and consumer protection. Promising vigilant enforcement of the federal government. As the September 15 deadline for linking national identification number to subscriber identification, subscribers have expressed frustration over the challenges they face in uploading their details on the National Identification Portal. The President of the National Association of Telecommunications, in conjunction on the NIMC website, occurs when many people attempt to access it simultaneously, making the process smooth only when fewer users are online. The NATCOM's president urged almost 2 weeks ago, the Nigerian Communications Commission announced a deadline saying that over 153 million SIMs have been successfully linked to NIM. This represents a 9 of accurate information to the public to encourage compliance with the linkage directives. The head of corporate communications at NIMC, Kayode Adegoke, clarified the agency's role in the ongoing NIN SIM linkage process, stating that NIMC's primary responsibility was to provide the NIN to Nigerians and ensure that telecos linked the number to their respective SIM cards. Ambassador Republic of Tunisia to Nigeria, Mohsin Antit, has said direct flights between Tunisia and Nigeria are projected to begin in 2026 as part of the effort to strengthen bilateral relations between Tunisia and Nigeria. According to the Vanguard, the ambassador stated this on Wednesday in Abuja, stated that the introduction of direct flights is crucial for facilitating closer business, political, and cultural interactions, adding that improved air connectivity is expected to ease travel for both business people and tourists, thereby strengthening economic and diplomatic relations. Mohsen said flights between Nigeria and Tunisia are primarily operated by an airline to offer a direct link. Recently, is Morocco's Royal Air Maroc, which launched a flight between Abuja and Casablanca in June 2024. According to him, the initiative aims to improve accessibility and foster stronger economic and cultural ties between the two nations, adding that the plan is still in development as both countries are committed will come to Nigeria in Abuja for the organization of a multi-sectoral economic forum, which falls within the framework of keenness to strengthen bilateral relations between the two brotherly countries in economic and investment fields. African airlines have seen a 7.4% year-on-year increase by the International Air Transport Association for July 2024. The load factor rose to 74.3% plus 0.5 PPT compared to July 2023, showing a demand in summer season sales. Global passenger demand as total demand measured in revenue passenger kilometers was up 8.0% compared to July 2023. Total capacity measured in available seat kilometers was up 7.4% year-on-year. The July load factor was 86.0%, plus 0.5 ppt compared to July 2023. International demand rose 10.1% compared to July 2023. Capacity was up 10.5% year-on-year, and the lead factor fell to 85.9%, minus 0.3 ppt compared to July 2023. Domestic demand rose 4.8% compared to July 2023. Capacity was up 2.8% year-on-year, and the load factor was 86.1% plus 1.7 ppt compared to July 2023. All regions showed strong growth for international passenger markets in July 2024 compared to July 2023, with signs that many marketers are returning to long-term growth trends after the post-pandemic bounce back. Asia Pacific Airlines growth remained strong with a 19.1% year-on-year increase in demand. Capacity increased 20.3% year-on-year, and the load factor was 83.8%, minus 0.8 ppt compared to July 2023. Most Asia routes have yet to exceed 2019 levels, with the exception of the Asia-Middle East routes. European carriers saw an 8.3% year-on-year increase in demand. Capacity increased 8.1% year-on-year, and the load factor was 87.5%, plus 0.2 ppt compared to July 2023. In terms of major international routes, the Europe-Asia route expanded fastest. Reflecting this is still to surpass 2019 levels. Middle Eastern carriers saw a 5.8% year-on-year increase in demand. Capacity increased 5.5% year-on-year, and the load factor was 84.1%, plus 0.4% year-on-year increase in demand. Capacity climbed 15.7% year-on-year. The load factor was 87.5%, minus 1.7%. 1.7 ppt compared to July 2023. While Hurricane Beryl had a strong localized impact in parts of Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico, and the southern United States, this did not significantly dampen demand. Bilateral air services agreement are critical route is stifling the growth of Nigeria's inbound tourism. Seyi Adewale, Chief Executive Officer, Mainstream Cargo Limited, decried the absence of Nigerian Airlines national routes, noting that this is part of the setbacks to the growth of their country's tourism. Adewale, who spoke as a panelist during the conference, was of the Category 1 status. Adewale noted that transit buses and information desks are needed from Nigerian airports to allow easy passenger movement. Ademola Oduwole, Global Branding and Tourism Development Strategist and former advisor to the governments of Fiji, Tanzania, and Mauritius, said the branding is crucial to Nigeria's tourism growth. Oduwole, who was also a panelist, still one is crucial for recognition and tourism growth, even without extensive infrastructure. He gave an illustration of an empty warehouse, a jar of honey, and ants to describe how global branding can boost the tourism growth in the country. Head of Tourism said Nigeria's tourism industry employs 1.91 million people and has grown by 13.1% since 2022. This figure, she said, tourism, such that it contributes much more to what people are doing in the space to pave the way forward for the tourism sector. You're watching ATN Business and Welcome back to Atn Business and Atlantic Television Network. Now to the rest of the stories. Chinese President Xi Jinping said Thursday that China will provide 360 billion yuan, more than $50 billion in financial support to Africa. Ramaphosa and Kenya's President William Ruto have spoken with Xi in one-on-one meetings in the lead-up to the summit, according to Chinese state media. By the end of the summit, leaders from both sides are expected to reach deals on trade and investment and sign key documents like Beijing's 3-year action plan. The visiting delegates will also be working to negotiate with Beijing on loan terms in a bid to resolve growing debt burdens at home. The summit also came as the country tries to sell more green tech products to the region like electric vehicles and solar panels, items that face hefty export tariffs in the West. It is the largest diplomatic event that China has hosted in recent years, Chinese Vice Foreign Minister Sheng Zhendong said in the summit's media briefing on August 23rd. But it might be a challenging task for Xi after China did not meet a pledge to buy $300 billion of African goods from the last Forum on China-African Cooperation Summit in 2021. China has been Africa's largest trading partner since it overtook the U.S. in 2009. The total trade volume has grown significantly over the past 2 decades, from less than 100 billion yuan in 2000 to 1.98 trillion yuan in 2023, for an annual growth rate of 17.2%, according to data from China Customs. In the first 7 months of this year, China-Africa traded goods accelerated to reach a record of 1.19 trillion yuan. China is also the largest creditor to many African nations. Between 2000 and 2023, it has channeled over $180 billion to build infrastructure projects such as bridges, rail lines, and hydropower plants on the continent, according to the Boston University Global Development Policy Center. Last year alone, Chinese lenders extended loans worth $4.61 billion, highest level since 2019. But these lending schemes, including through Xi's Hallmark Belt and Road Initiative, have been criticized by saddling low and middle-income governments with overly high levels of debt relative to GDP. That has left some countries unable to service their debts or even going into default. European stock markets were lower Thursday, continuing a negative run after closing last week at a record high. 12:21 p.m. in London, with the spread between losses and gains. Utility stock rose 1.67% as the technology sector fell 0.89%. Germany's DAX managed a 0.18% gain after data showed factory orders in the country increased 2.9% month-on-month in July. However, Benedict Action Bond economists noted that orders, including big-ticket items such as aircraft, ships, and trains, were lower, and said the release further dents the narrative that industry is bottoming out. The SOX 600 has stumbled in the first 3 trading sessions of September after closing above 525 points for the first time on Friday. Global sentiment has yet again been rattled by U.S. data after weak manufacturing surveys and lower than expected jobs openings suggested a slowdown in the world's biggest economy and revived debate about whether the Federal Reserve could cut interest rates by 50 rather than 25 basis points this month. That has put even more focus on the remaining U.S. jobs releases out this week, particularly initial jobless claims on Thursday, and non-farm pay also being pulled down this week by the technology sector, which lost 2.3% in Europe on Wednesday. Goldman Sachs just refreshed its conviction list of global stocks, giving 164% upside. Fund manager reveals his top stock picks that rose during the market sell-off. On Wall Street, index futures were slightly higher in the early hours Thursday after a turbulent start to September. Asia-Pacific markets also extended losses, with Japan's Nikkei 225 suffering the steepest decline after wages recorded softer growth in August, potentially offering the Bank of Japan more room for a rate hike. French President Emmanuel Macron has named Michel Barnier, the European Union's former Brexit negotiator, as Prime Minister in a bid to end the political stalemate that has marred the nation since early July. Macron charged Barnier with forming a government on Thursday, according to an announcement shared by the Elysee Palace. The 73-year-old Conservative must now face a no-confidence vote in the lower house of Parliament before assuming governance. The announcement hopes to end the weeks-long political standoff